Hi guys, so in this video we're looking at finding the missing sides in right angle triangles. So when you're given what an angle is and you're given one of the other sides, you'll be able to work out the side that you're being asked for. So the x in the two examples here. So the steps are to label two sides opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. Form an equation, rearrange the equation so that you get the variable, and all we mean by variable is the letter. So in these two examples on the right hand side, it's x in both of them on one side and everything else on the other. Use calculator to find the answer, so you'll have to have a calculator, you won't be able to work these out in your head. So if I follow the first step, if I just label opposite and adjacent and hypotenuse, so 30 is the angle that I'm given in A here in example A. So if I'm looking from the angle 30, x has to be the opposite and 5 would be the adjacent in this. So if I go back and I look for which of sin, cos or tan I should use, you should know that you're going to use tan. So go back and revise that if you're not sure of why that is tan. So tan of the angle, and the angle always goes in beside this, then is 30 equals, and tan is opposite over adjacent. So opposite in this question is x and adjacent is 5. So I formed an equation there. The next part is where I try to get the x by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get x equals. So I'm going to try to keep the x on the right hand side, and I'm going to try get everything else over to the other side. So I want you to look at this for a second. If you had something like 5 equals x over 5, I should have picked a different number there. I'll just pick a different number on the right hand side just so it's a little bit different. So 8 equals x over 5. So if this was an equation, and you need to have looked at equations or studied equations a little bit before to understand this, but if I wanted to get x by itself in this question, what I would do is I would multiply by 5 or bring the 5 over, but when the 5 comes over it becomes a multiply, so whatever way you've learned it. But multiplying by 5 is what you do. So you'd multiply by 5, so that would be 40. So I want you to look at this question in exactly the same way. It's just that now you've got a tan 30 instead of a number there. But you're going to do it in exactly the same way. So you're going to multiply by 5 on both sides. Then you will get 5 multiplied by the tan of 30, and then you can put that all into your calculator then, because that has to equal x, because then the 5 is gone from the right hand side. So just put in that 5 multiplied by tan of 30, and you're not using inverse tan in these. Whenever you're working out missing sides, it's just the regular sin, cos or tan. So you don't press shift or second function button at all when you're working out the lengths of missing sides. So I'm getting 2.87 there when I round off. And you'll generally have to round off with these as well, because you'll get a long decimal usually as your answer. So I've worked out that the missing side there, x, is 2.87 centimeters. Example B here then. So I'm going to start by labeling again. Opposite would be the one on the bottom here because it's furthest away from the 40. So the 4 has to be the adjacent in this case, and the x is the hypotenuse. So I'm dealing with the adjacent and the hypotenuse here. So if I go back and I look at which of sin, cos and tan deal with adjacent and hypotenuse, I'll see that it's the middle one, so it's cos. So cos, and then the angle always goes in next. So cos of, sorry, it's not x here. In this case, the angle is 40 equals the adjacent, which is 4, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Now, this question is actually slightly harder because I actually get x on the bottom here. So if you think about it, there's nothing that I could do that's straightforward to both sides that would just get the x by itself. What you can do is, and what I will do is, I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So I'm multiplying by what's on the bottom. Always multiply by what's on the bottom if you get a fraction in your equations, and it'll help simplify it. So think about it, if I was to multiply the left hand side by x, I would get x cos 40, so x multiplied by cos 40. We'll put an x around that, brackets around there as well. On the right hand side, the multiply x divided by x would cancel out, and I just get 4. So now I've got x cos 40 equals 4, and then what I'm going to do next is to get the x by itself, because x is being times by cos of 40 here. So if you think about it, if you had something like 2x equals 6, what you would do then, because the x is being multiplied by 2, you divide by 2. So x equals 3. But here x is being multiplied by cos 40. So try and treat cos of 40 as one thing, as one kind of unit. So cos of 40, you're going to multiply by cos 40, and this is the easiest and quickest way of getting x by itself. So multiply by cos 40, so x equals 4 over oh sorry, my step should be divide, because so I put in I did multiply by mistake, so it's divide by cos 40. So I'm getting 4 over cos 40. And when you've got that, then you can just put that into your calculator. So you can put it in as a fraction, 4 over cos 40, or you could do 4 divided by cos 40. So I'm getting 5.22 when I put it into the calculator. Centimeters. So I know that's a little bit confusing, the last bit, but try at least to get to understand up to there. So you should be able to to at least get up to there. The last little bit then is where you rearrange around a little bit, and it is a little bit confusing, especially if you're not used to doing equations, or you haven't looked at solving equations before, or equations with fractions. So that's your final answer. So there's 4 questions here, so if you want to try these 4 questions now, and just pause the video and try them, and then play on the video, and I'll go through the answers. So question 1, if I label, first of all, x is the opposite, it's furthest away from the 35 in that question, and 8 is the hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse means I'm going to use sin. So sin of the angle 35 equals x, which is opposite, over 8. Now because x is being divided by 8 here, I'm just going to multiply by 8 on both sides. So this is fairly straightforward. So when you get the variable on top, like here, you only need to do one step. So 8 multiplied by sin of 35 equals x. So you need to put all that into your calculator then. So press 8, press multiply, press the sin button, and press 35, and you can press the second bracket there if you want. You don't actually need to. So I'm getting 5.89, so sorry, 4.59 there. Centimeters. So question 2 then, if I label, first of all, 3 is the adjacent there, x is the hypotenuse, so I have adjacent and hypotenuse, so therefore I'm using cos. So cos of the angle 40 equals 3 over x. Now notice how I get the variable on the bottom this time, the x is on the bottom, so it's going to make it a little bit more confusing. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by what's on the bottom, so I'm multiplying by x to get rid of the fraction. So I get x cos 40 on the left hand side, and I get 3 on the right hand side. Then I just need to divide by cos 40. On both sides. So x equals 3 over the cos of 40. And then you can put that into your calculator again. So you just do 3 divided by cos of 40, and I get 3.92 centimeters. Question 3, x is the opposite here and 4 is the adjacent. So I have opposite and adjacent in this question. So opposite and adjacent means I'm going to use tan, because tan is the one that has opposite and adjacent. So tan of my angle 50 equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 4. Then to get x by itself, I'm going to just multiply by 4. Because x is being divided by 4, I'm going to divide by 4, so I'm getting 4 multiplied by the tan of 50 equals x, and then you need to put that into your calculator again. So 4 multiplied by tan of 50 is 4.77 centimeters equals x. Question 4. My x is the adjacent in this question and 9 is the hypotenuse. So I've got adjacent and hypotenuse, that means I'm going to use cos. So cos of the angle 50 equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 9. It's not very good, 9. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 9, and that will just give me x by itself. So 9 multiplied by cos of 50 equals x. Then put that into your calculator. 9 multiplied by cos of 50. So I get 5.79. Centimeters equals x. So those are my 4 answers.